Hi there and welcome. My name is Jennifer Dixon, coach here at Fittr. And today's super quick video is going to help you learn how to open up all of this area, these hip areas, to help you get into Padmasana or Lotus Pose. So keep in mind, Lotus Pose is a fairly advanced posture, this yogi sitting position. So take your time. Muscles that are cold don't like to move as much as muscles that are warm. So make sure that you have done a sufficient warm up, whether it's a yoga class or you've already gotten all of your exercise in. So the warmer the muscles are, the more pliable they're going to be. So the easier it's going to be to get your body to be okay with coming into a Padmasana pose. So are you guys ready? All right, go ahead and hit subscribe to this channel and then join me on your mat. So maybe you've seen people sitting a little bit like this and thought, how on earth? Well, let me show you 3 of my favorite stretches that you can incorporate into your yoga practice or even into your regular exercise program that will hopefully help you to open up the major muscles all around your hips and your knees to make this Lotus Pose or Padmasana something that you can incorporate into your daily practice. You ready? Okay. So the very first exercise or stretch that I want to show you is an easy one. You've probably seen it before. It's a seated forward fold or Paschimottanasana. So if you can, you're going to try to extend those legs out in front of you and keep those legs nice and straight. This could be challenging, however, so bend your knees as much as you need to so that you're not rounding forward here on the ground. If you're sitting with a rounded spine, then bend the knees so your back is it has a little bit more forgiveness there for your back. Then you're going to lean forward over these legs. If your knees are bent, that's okay. You're still getting a good stretch in your low back, which you need mobility here in your low back for your Padmasana, but you're also getting a stretch in the hammies. That may or may not happen today, not important. But what I do want to caution you with, as you work towards this Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold, don't look forward. That's going to really creak your neck and that doesn't feel good. Keep your chin slightly tucked so that your neck is nice and long. We don't want to have any yogi neck issues, right? And how long do you hold these stretches, you may ask? Well, good question. You can actually hold this seated forward fold 2 to 5 minutes and it won't do any harm. It'll actually just help to relax all the muscles and maybe even get into the connective tissue that holds everything really tight. For our purposes, we're just going to hold this for a few more breaths, maybe 3 breaths. And if you can't get down this low, if you're up here, maybe with your knees bent, just sitting here, reaching your chest towards bent knees, that's okay. It's baby steps. Remember, it's a practice, not a perfect. Let's do 1 more breath. All right, come on up. Now the next exercise I want us to work towards is called Baddha Konasana or cobbler's pose. The full expression of this pose is where you bring the feet together and let the knees fall apart. Now this can be exceptionally difficult, especially if you have really tight inner thighs. So if this is easy for you, then you can stay right here and lean forward. That'll really get into the inner thighs. But if this is really challenging, let me show you another option. It's sometimes called Janu Shirshasana. I like to sometimes call it seated tree. You're going to extend that right leg out long and bring that left foot all the way up onto the groin. So this is like 1/2 of a Baddha Konasana, right? That left knee is out. If your left knee is up high, then put a pillow or a cushion or something underneath the leg so that the body is like, okay, cool, I can relax. Because if your body feels threatened, then you're never going to be able to relax, right? So make sure your body feels nice and supported as you forward fold over this extended right leg. Now remember, if you can't sit up relatively straight with the flat leg, Bend your knee, that's okay. You're still getting all the benefits of this stretch, and then you still forward fold. So you're getting an inner thigh stretch here, hip opening here on the left, and a hamstring opening and low back stretch on the right. So it's a really good way to work on opening up everything that is connecting and holding your hips together. This pose too, you can hold 2 to 5 minutes, no problem. I like to hold static stretches versus where we're like jerking ourselves into it. I like the long, slow holds, letting the body relax a little better, because sometimes I may or may not be a bit type A. I might try to get a little too aggressive. So if I'm just sitting here trying to breathe, it's a little bit more, it's nicer to the body. It enables the body to relax, even though this possibly is a little uncomfortable for the hamstrings and thighs and hips. Let's hold this 3 more breaths. Remember, try not to look up, because that could possibly injure your neck. Keep the chin slightly tucked, crown of the head reaching forward so you don't hurt that neck. 1 more breath. Beautiful work. Come on up. And let's do that on the other side. Now, if you're still here in Baddha Konasana, hang out here, man. Enjoy this stretch. You're getting basically the same work as these other folks that are just doing one at a time. You're just getting to hold it for one long duration. So let's do the seated tree or Janu Shirshasana on the other side. This time, the left leg is extended out. Right heel comes all the way up to your groin, as high up as you can. Try to square yourself off. Remember, support the outer thigh, that outer right thigh, with a pillow or a blanket if you have it and if you need it. If your knee is up high into the sky and really not able to relax, that's going to make it much harder for your body to get to the point where it can enjoy this Padmasana pose. You can stay upright here, especially if you have tight hamstrings or tight hips. Remember, you can also bend that left knee in order to lean forward. If you've got a straight-ish left leg, then you lean forward over that left leg. I don't like to look up, like I said, because it can crick my neck and it doesn't feel good. But I also feel like if I tuck my chin and lengthen out through my neck, it enables the rest of my spine to relax a little bit more. Even here, one day you should be able to get your forehead towards your shin. If you want to get really, really fancy, you can reach your arms past your foot. One hand grabs the other wrist. It doesn't really matter. And then lean forward down onto the shin. That's for the full expression. For our purposes in trying to get to this Padmasana, it's okay if you just hang out here, forearms to the mat, hands to the mat, whatever expression you can do. You do want to be able to make these prep poses fairly easy, though, to ensure your body will accept that lotus pose. Let's hold this here for another good 3 breaths. One more. Beautiful work here. All right, let's come up. Now, the final prep pose that I want you guys to do with me is called double pigeon or Dvipada Rajakapotasana. Say that 3 times really fast. This can be exceptionally difficult because it requires a whole bunch of openness in the inner thighs as well as the outer hip. To set it up, we're going to start out with the left leg bent, left shin parallel to the top of the mat. Now, if your knees are up really high, that's okay. Just put a block or a pillow or something underneath your knee. This again is working that's the inner thigh stretch as well as external hips. Now we're going to take this right leg. Maybe you have to love on it. You might have to hug this right leg and sing to it like a cranky baby. Maybe you just can grab it and go with it. We're going to set that right shin on top of the left shin. Notice how my ankle is on top of the left thigh and my shins are parallel to the top of the mat. It's much easier to have your heels in than it is to have your heels out. So we're really working on having shins straight across the front of your mat, just like it's like you had a ruler in front of you. The ankle is supported by the left thigh. And the knee is supported maybe by the right ankle, or if this knee is up, you're gonna have to put a blanket or a block or something under it to support it. You should feel this basically everywhere in and around your hips. Now, if you've got a nice and open hip area like I do, where my knees are basically supported, knees and ankles are supported, you can intensify this posture by leaning forward, maybe one day getting your chest to your shins. This is not necessary, however, in order to work your Padmasana. I can sit here, but I have very open hips. You may not be able to lean forward this deeply. That's okay. You can stay upright, totally fine. You can have cushions underneath both legs. You can even sit on a cushion if that makes it to raise your hips up a little bit more, if that gives you a little more room. I don't recommend Padmasana or Lotus Pose if this is exceptionally uncomfortable. You should be able to sit in this double pigeon or fire logs pose and be able to breathe. Let's do this here, another 3 breaths at whatever your edge is, making sure that you can breathe, because if you can't breathe, your body's not going to relax. 2 more breaths. 1 more breath. Beautiful. Now guess what? We got to do that on the other side. Bring those knees into your chest, give them a squeeze. Think, oh man, I'm so close to being done with all these stretches. I'm just kidding. Now, take that right shin, make sure it is nice and parallel to the top of the mat. You're going to take that left leg. Maybe you've got to rock a cranky hip baby out. It's totally okay. This is my tighter side, so I'm often sitting here just singing some sweet lullabies to my left hip because it is definitely tighter. When you think you're ready, you're going to set that left ankle onto the left knee and bring that left knee down towards the right ankle. Remember, if your knees are up in the air and not supported, support them with something, a blanket, a block, anything, toilet paper, whatever you've got on hand, so that your body can feel supported and it will eventually relax here. Now, you can lean forward to intensify this stretch a little bit more, or let me show you another way to intensify this stretch for those of you that are a little more open, where your ankle and your knees are supported. How you intensify this is you bring your knees closer together. Notice how my shins are still parallel to the top of the mat. I just tightened things up a bit. This is kind of like the equivalent of tightening your lotus up, which I'll demonstrate here in a moment. Here you can stay upright or you can lean into it, just like we did on the other side. This is my tighter side, so I'm going to lean into this for the last few breaths, just to try to encourage this side to open up as much as the other side. Let's do this, another 2 breaths. Inhaling, long, slow, deep breath. Exhale it out. Try to relax the shoulders down and away from the ears. Inhale, last one. Exhale it out. Beautiful work. Use your hands, if you forward folded, to lift yourself up. And now let me show you how I get into a Padmasana. First thing we want to do is a half lotus pose, half Padmasana. So you are going to bring that left heel to the outer edge of that right butt cheek. Bring that right foot up. Maybe you want to love the hip baby if you want. Bring the right heel towards your belly button and then swoop that right knee forward. Here we are in a half lotus pose. This is an excellent prep for your full lotus. So if this is uncomfortable, stay right here and maybe just hang out, play some video games, play with your kids, watch TV. You can hang out here in this half lotus pose until your body kind of gets used to it. Let me show you the other side. The right heel is going to go to the outer edge of that left butt cheek, and then grab that left leg, love on the hip baby. And when it's ready, you bring that left heel towards your belly button and swoop that knee forward. Here we are in a half lotus on the left side. It feels pretty good. You'll notice that you should feel some openness in and around your sacrum as you work these areas. Now let's do the full lotus pose. Yoga, you typically start with the right side first, but if you're practicing your lotus, make sure you do both sides so that you don't have unevenness in the hips. So if you notice, I went ahead and bent my left leg almost like I was setting up for fire log, with the left shin almost parallel to the top of the mat. I bring that right leg up, love it maybe. Remove the flesh, especially if you have thicker legs like me. Bring the right heel towards your belly button, swoop that right knee forward. The closer you can get your knees together, the tighter your lotus will be. The further out it is, the looser your lotus will be. Since we're really working on some good lotus positions and opening in the hips, let's swoop that right knee as far forward as you can. If this is your edge, this is where you stay. If you want to work towards lotus, shimmy that left foot forward. And again, only do this if this half lotus feels okay. You're going to take your hand and pick up that left foot. But notice how I'm not jerking it up and out. I'm basically pushing into my toes to lift my heel and sliding my heel up my thigh. It's a very gentle movement where it's not causing any pain in either knees. Because guess what? If you rush this, your knees will give before your hips give, and that's not going to be a good thing, okay? So take your time. Hang out in a half lotus. Hang out in that Janu Shirshasana or seated tree pose or Baddha Konasana. Hang out there a little bit longer and definitely work your hamstrings. This is Padmasana. Or Lotus Pose. Do you want to try it on the other side? To get out of Lotus Pose, slowly slide that top foot off and then slide the other foot off and then shake it out. Let's do this with the other side starting on the top. So now the right leg's coming in like we were setting up for fire logs. Left leg's gonna come up. We're gonna hug, love on that leg, baby. Remove the flesh of the calf if you need to as you work your left heel towards your belly button and shimmy that left knee forward, endeavoring to start out with a tighter lotus so that you don't have to tighten it up once you get there. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy that right heel forward, and then pick up the heel by pressing into the outer edge of those right feet so that you can just slide the right foot up your thigh. Yoga pants help you to slide. Now notice, if you're a little bit wider like this, that's okay, but it can be kind of hellish on your ankles. So that's why we want to try to start out with a tighter lotus so that your ankles are supported on either leg starting out. Don't do this if you have any pain in your knees. If you're recovering from a knee injury or if you've had any sort of knee issues, I wouldn't recommend Padmasana. I would stick with maybe that seated tree pose and just work on getting the mobility in and around the knee first. This is only really to be practiced if you have a really strong yoga practice, very, very open hips and hamstrings, and then you can start to really work on your full lotus pose. Keep in mind, half lotus pose, where that right foot is under the left knee, still is working, opening up your hips, and it's a great transition. It's a great way to step yourself into a full lotus pose. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you learned a few new tricks and maybe got to experience a little bit more of your lotus pose, Padmasana. Don't forget to take your time, practice, and try this when you're nice and warm. When you're cold, it makes it so much more difficult. The way that you make lotus pose more comfortable is to keep practicing and to just keep doing it. Let me know if you have any questions. You can drop us a comment down below. Again, my name is Jennifer Dixon, coach here with Fittr, and I thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to hit subscribe down below so you can be notified the next time we release a new video. Take care. You guys go in peace. Namaste.